up? What's up? This is District Sentinel Radio, the newscast of record for the left. I'm Sam Sachs.
I'm Sam Knight.
We are broadcasting out of the intern Nate is Not a Worker studios in Washington, D.C. Check out that website, districtsentinel.com. Happy 420 to everybody joining us on the live stream. Important news off the top. Yesterday we debuted the Sam Knight mouth cam.
That's right.
That's right. Lean back a little. See the mouth?
There's the mouth.
We now have
the mouth.
Sam Sachs mouth cam. So.
Oh, I might need to readjust to give him the mouth. Should I readjust? Should I? Which way do I move?
Let's not
readjust.
We've got all the cameras set up. Let's not readjust anymore. That's enough mouth. Okay.
You got to give the people the mouth. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm sorry. I'll try to talk like this. I'll try to talk like this.
That works.
Does it work?
That works.
Okay.
All right, what's on the news? What's going on here? You got
what's going on? Have you not read the New York Times?
We have the New York Times anonymous op-ed at the top of the script here.
Yeah, I don't have long passages to quote from it extensively, thank God. But what were your thoughts? Let me just say I was really put off by the line, quote, "Americans should know that there are adults in the room."
Yeah. No, this guy's just as big of a monster as anybody else in that administration.
Guy or woman.
Yeah, you're
Could
right.
be Kellyanne Conway.
I really don't think it's her because she seems to be such a true believer in all this. But first off, this person's clearly just wanting to like capitalize off this in the future. The New York Times is handing this guy a gift, or woman a gift, for when they eventually do come public with this. But the line that gives it away for me is when they talk about all the great accomplishments, like the tax cuts. The tax cuts were a disaster, but this is one of those good Republicans who have set the basis for Donald Trump and are trying to run away from it now.
Yeah, and everything has been a disaster.
I say good Republicans
right.
in quotes for the people who can't see me.
And everything really has been a disaster. It seems like what they really have a problem with are his tweets and his trade policy and things on tariffs. And You were saying you thought it might be someone from Pence's office.
Well, there's been a lot of people talking about it because of the word lodestar or whatever.
Oh,
that was used in it, and Pence has used that word in speeches before. So it's like maybe it's Pence, but I doubt it's Pence himself. I would think maybe it's Pence's speechwriter or something.
The Dick Nixon Twitter account said that it was probably Pence, one of Pence's people, and that Pence knew about it, but didn't overtly give the thumbs up. He just sort of. It seems like the stars seem to line up behind getting ready. Someone's getting ready for Trump to get impeached, and they want to try to salvage some of what has happened already politically.
Yeah.
It's pretty self-serving. It's pretty disgusting. But the good news is the Trump administration is going the White House, I should say, is going insane over this.
I think it would be even funnier if this actually isn't a senior official in the administration and the New York Times got played by one of the rogue White House advisor Twitter accounts.
In real news, in actual serious news, the Delaware Senate races tonight. We have Kerry Harris trying to unseat Tom Carper, and that should be interesting.
Wouldn't mind seeing that happen.
No,
TBH.
No, not at all. Unfortunately, we haven't covered it that much, but The Intercept has. So I guess check out their coverage if you want a primer on this tonight. But could be a huge upset. Tom Carper, a corporate Dem. We'll see how much support he actually has tonight.
We will see that. Tune in tomorrow. I think we're going to put it up on the free stream. We sat and talked with Katie Halper, the Katie Halper Show, who we talked New York politics with her because we're here in D.C. We don't know. I mean, we know a little bit about what's going on in New York, but we're not there. And we wanted to find out about the gubernatorial race and some of the state Senate races there. So that's going to come out tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. Haiku's coming up in the middle of the show. Well, you got something to say? Do we have any?
We got some commentary on the YouTube feed. We have Roy M. says, I've been on vacation and haven't heard the cast since early last month. Looking forward to seeing your faces and hearing some shit talking. And
well, you're in luck. You're in luck, Roy.
And Luke noticed some kinks at the beginning of the cast. He says, oh no, Sam broke the animation.
I did. I fat-fingered it. It's okay.
F-U-C-C. Then we have...
But we reined it back in. We got it back together.
Then we have Ilias and Kelly saying that they like the mouth cam. Ilias says, love that mouth cam. And Kelly says, hot mouth cam action. So...
Yikes.
People like the mouth cam.
Who can blame them? Okay. Haiku's coming up in a few minutes. But first, it's Thursday, September 6th, 2018. Here's the news. And we begin with Kavanaugh hearing, day 3. We told you yesterday about how several documents and emails relevant to Kavanaugh's time at the White House had been designated committee confidential, where they can be read by senators on the committee, but they're not allowed to be made public. We talked a lot about this on yesterday's show. And so we saw Democratic senators like Patrick Leahy and Kamala Harris hint that they have the goods on Kavanaugh in emails, but that they can't talk about those emails publicly because they're committee confidential. The committee chairman, Chuck Grassley, said there was a process in place to have those emails made public, but Democrats just didn't take advantage of that process, and he reiterated that this morning. Well, today, nearly all the Democrats on the Judiciary Committee started things off by saying, fuck that process. They're just going to start releasing documents on their own. And here's the clip from the hearing. We begin with one Cory Booker.
And I'm told that the committee confidential rules have knowing consequences. And so, sir, I come from a long line, as all of us do as Americans, and understand what that kind of civil disobedience is, and I understand the consequences. So I am right now, before your process is finished, I'm going to release the email about racial profiling. And I understand that the penalty comes with potential ousting from the Senate.
I want to make it absolutely clear that I do not accept the process of this committee confidential routine that we went through. I do not accept its legitimacy. I do not accept its validity. Because I don't accept its legitimacy or validity, I don't accept that I'm under any obligation. I've not made a big fight about this. I've just gone ahead with my questioning. But again, lest silence imply consent, I think that rule is as ineffectual as if the chair had unilaterally repealed the law of gravity. It simply isn't so. I haven't agreed to this rule. I haven't voted on this rule. This rule does not exist in our committee or Senate rules.
I hereby reserve the right to release documents before any confirmation vote.
And we now know that less than 10% of the documents reflecting the public career of Mr. Kavanaugh have been made available to this committee. And I just want to say to my colleagues, and particularly my colleague from New Jersey, I completely agree with you. I concur with what you are doing, and let's jump into this pit together. I hope my other colleagues will join me. So that if there is going to be some retribution against the senator from New Jersey, count me in.
Count me in, too. Mr. Chairman, I, too, referred to a so-called committee confidential document. I am releasing that document to the press.
You know, we don't make it a habit to praise Democrats on that show, but that was some extremely good shit today. And I don't want to brag too much, but it came about 2 minutes after on Twitter I suggested that Democrats should just start reading all of these emails in the committee and force Chuck Grassley to shut it down.
Now, you're not reporting that the Democrats saw your tweet before walking out there and said, now we're going to do what this at Sam Sachs says.
Yeah.
Surely you're not reporting that or even implying that.
No, I'm not. Of course, this didn't happen without a full-on meltdown from John Cornyn, Texas Republican. He became very, very angry at this display, particularly at Cory Booker.
Running for president is no excuse for violating the rules of the Senate or of the confidentiality of the documents that we are privy to. This is no different from the senator deciding to release classified information that is deemed classified by the executive branch because you happen to disagree with the classification decision. That is irresponsible and outrageous. And I hope that the senator will reconsider his decision, because no senator deserves to sit on this committee or serve in the Senate, in my view, if they decide to be a law unto themselves and willingly flout the rules of the Senate and the determination of confidentiality and classification. That is irresponsible and conduct unbecoming a senator. Senate Rule 29.5, the standing rules of the Senate for the benefit of all senators.
Oh, busting out
Any
the rules.
senator, officer, or employee of the Senate who shall disclose the secret or confidential business or proceedings of the Senate, including the business and proceedings of the committees, subcommittees, and offices of the Senate, shall be liable, if a senator, to suffer expulsion from the body, and if an officer or employee, to dismissal from the service of the Senate and to punishment for contempt. So I would correct the senator's statement. There is no rule. There is clearly a rule that applies.
Then apply the
Mr.
rule
Chairman.
and bring the charges.
Mr.
Bring it.
Chairman,
Can Senate
Bring it.
Can Senate rules not to be like an admiralty law guy, but
Yeah.
it sounds like these Senate rules are against the Constitution, speech and debate.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think if Cornyn didn't want to get upset, they shouldn't be trying to ram through a nominee before these documents can be made public, which can be done in a matter of weeks.
Yeah, we got some speech or debate action
Yeah.
here today, which is a rare thing here in the Senate.
Well,
That was
unsurprisingly, John Cornyn.
If this would have went down like 180 years ago, there would have been a duel.
There would have been a duel. Someone would have been attacked for sure. But today, unsurprisingly, Cornyn filling his diaper was ineffective, and Booker's staff released the emails shortly after. One of the chains is from August 2001. It's about a Supreme Court case over a Department of Transportation program for minority communities that had been systematically denied highway construction money on the grounds of race. Now, Kavanaugh was a White House lawyer at the time, and some of the email here is just him discussing legal strategy and opining about the challenge to get the program dismissed, which is not bad. But Kavanaugh also injected policy into it, listing objections to applying the deliberate indifference doctrine to go after governments that tolerate racial discrimination. As to the nice little paper flip there by me for the people who are watching on TV, on YouTube, sorry. Anyway, continuing, Kavanaugh wrote, as to the merits of a deliberate indifference standard, would it mean that a victim of private discrimination could sue the government on some theory that the government was merely deliberately indifferent to rather than the cause of the private discrimination? If so, that might suggest an extraordinary expansion of governmental responsibility and liability for private racial discrimination. End of quote. I don't know. That sounds kind of like a good idea to me. I think local governments that put up with systemic racism probably should be held liable. I mean, I can see, however, why Republicans didn't want this to get out, this email to get out before Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation hearing. I can also see why they didn't want the second email, or one of the other emails made public by Booker. It's from months after 9/11, January 2002, about whether or not to introduce race-neutral airport security policies. Here's the money shot. It's in an email to Helgard Walker, then White House Deputy Counsel. Kavanaugh said, quote, the people such as you and I who generally favor effective security measures that are race neutral, in fact, do need to grapple now with the interim question of what to do before a truly effective and comprehensive race neutral system is developed and implemented. So there was a lot there, but basically what Kavanaugh was saying is he thinks racial discrimination is fine as long as it's during a national security emergency and has a sunset clause.
Yeah.
How could that possibly go wrong?
Yeah, if you look at the sort of exchange that goes back and forth there, there was clearly a lot of people in the Bush administration
pushing way worse.
Pushing for some sort of racial profiling system to be official policy. You have Kavanaugh and others pushing to create a system that wasn't based on racial profiling, but saying in the interim, we probably should have one.
Yeah, and also troubling, and definitely another reason that committee Republicans didn't want this chain release. The email from Walker that Kavanaugh responded to said long-term racial discrimination was, in fact, a legal option. Quote, such action may be legal under cases such as Korematsu. That's the 1944 Supreme Court case legalizing Japanese internment camps.
Don't cite Korematsu. God damn. Then there was Senator Leahy, who was the star of yesterday's show. He released emails relevant to that line of questioning from yesterday about Kavanaugh's time back working in the White House when he was in communication with a former GOP staffer named Manny Miranda. Now, Manny Miranda, you might remember, he in 2003 hacked into Democratic Senate offices to gain intelligence to help the Bush White House get its nominees confirmed. Kavanaugh worked with Miranda at the time. They had the same goal, but Kavanaugh has testified multiple times that he didn't know what Miranda was up to and that he never received stolen emails. Well, Leahy rolled in today with giant poster board printouts of the emails, and they don't look good for Mr. Kavanaugh. He posted them on easels in the committee, including this email here from 2003 from a GOP staffer working with Miranda that has the subject line, spying. It's right there. Subject, spying.
Subject, spying.
Sentence 1, I have a friend who is a mole for us on the left. The email goes on to relay to Kavanaugh internal strategy of Democratic senators. Now, other emails released by Leahy are directly from Miranda to Kavanaugh and do include clearly stolen information that Miranda describes as, highly confidential, for your eyes only. Don't tell anybody we have this stuff.
Now, it's possible that this mole, using air quotes for people who are only listening to this, that this mole just so happened to copy verbatim stuff that looks like notes that came from one of Senator Biden's staffers.
You got lucky.
It's possible.
It's possible. That's what Kavanaugh is basically claiming. He says these exchanges were all innocent and that he didn't deduce at the time that they were stolen. Let's go back to the hearing.
A red flag with you?
It did not, Senator. Again, people have friends across the aisle who they talk to. At least this was my experience back then. Maybe it's changed. And there was a lot of bipartisanship on the committee. There was a lot of bipartisanship among the staffs. There were a lot of friendships and relationships where people would talk to, I've got a friend on Senator Ted Kennedy's staff, or I have a friend on Senator Hatch's staff, or I have a friend on Senator Specter's staff. That kind of the conversation and information sharing was common. So it did not raise the flags.
Judge, I was born at night, but not last night. Can you confirm for me today that in that 102,000 pages, there are no emails from Mr. Miranda marked highly confidential or do not share or take no action on this, describing what he has found out the Democrats are thinking?
Senator, I am not involved in the documents process, so I don't know what's in them.
Well, that is convenient.
I don't know, beginning to think this Kavanaugh guy might be up to something, might be kind of shady, might be no good.
Yep. And isn't that convenient that the document release process just wouldn't let Leahy just hand the email over to him to comment on that? Because obviously when you enter something into the public record, you can just hand it to the witness. But I wonder why they couldn't do that.
Leahy also proved that Kavanaugh is a liar. He released emails showing that Kavanaugh did indeed give misleading testimony during a prior confirmation hearing in 2004 when he said he was not involved in pushing the nomination of a controversial judge, a guy named Bill Pryor. This was in 2002. Kavanaugh interviewed Pryor and, according to emails, advised the Bush team to recommend Pryor, a guy who called Roe v. Wade the worst decision in Supreme Court history. So Kavanaugh testifies that he had nothing to do with pushing the Pryor nomination. Turns out, according to emails, Kavanaugh recommended to the Bush administration that they push for prior. Also, emails released by Hawaii Senator Mazi K. Hirono suggest that Kavanaugh believes that aid programs benefiting Native Hawaiians are unconstitutional. Here's the quote. Any program targeting Native Americans as a group is subject to strict scrutiny and of questionable validity under the Constitution. Another email released, this from September 17th, 2001. This was a few days after 9/11. Kavanaugh was asked about yesterday if he played any role in crafting the Bush-era warrantless surveillance program. He said no, but here's an email. Subject line 4A issue from John Yoo, from Brett Kavanaugh to John Yoo, pretty infamous Bush attorney lawyer. Subject 4A issue says, quote, any results yet on the 4A Fourth Amendment implications of random constant surveillance of phone and email conversations of non-citizens who are in the United States when the purpose of the surveillance is to prevent terrorist criminal violence? So, I don't know. Sounds like he's pretty involved to me there.
Yeah, it does. It does sound pretty involved. I think there was a correction. I think in the first Hirono email, it was Native Hawaiians. I think you may have said Native Americans.
Okay. Native Hawaiians.
Native Hawaiians, and
essentially the same thing.
This could put some pressure on Lisa Murkowski.
Yeah,
the Republican might.
It would be applied to Native Alaskans too.
Yeah.
Like, we played Lindsey Graham's clip yesterday, pretty confident that Kavanaugh's going to get 54 votes in the Senate. He still might, but this guy's getting caught up in quite a few lies, and I'm not as confident he's going to get confirmed as I was yesterday after this hearing. He's not doing a very good job for himself. And really, the shady way that Chuck Grassley and the Republicans have gone about doing this isn't doing him any favors. But then again, any other way, and Kavanaugh might have been damaged even more.
Yeah, I think at least, if nothing else, it'll make it harder for any Democrat to cross the aisle. But I really have a hard time seeing. Maybe Murkowski and Collins, but even then, no. There's too much money behind Kavanaugh. There's too much Republican money behind Kavanaugh. Not feeling good about his nomination being sunk.
Yeah, I agree. All right.
Nice phone call there.
We don't have to tell the audience of everything that goes wrong here. All right. Most podcasts thank their corporate sponsors. We take a break for haikus. This first one goes out to Brad. The pants fit me well. Great. I'll buy 14 pairs now, all the same color.
Thank you, Brad. This is for Tyler. Nothing like water. Tall, cool glass of H2O. Ice stack to the brim.
Thank you, Tyler. This one's for Emma. Love that song, Sailing, by the great Christopher Cross. So smooth. So soulful.
Thank you, Emma. This is for Auf die Welle. Breakfast cereal implies that there is also dinner cereal.
Good point. Thank you, Auf die Welle.
3 different pronunciations there.
Yeah. This one is for Marshmallow Burb. Let's toss the pigskin. Give it a good whirl. Hit me. Penalty holding.
Thank you, Marshmallow Burb. Finally, this is for Heather. The wait is over. Time for a new big event. GoPro on a duck.
That could be the next big thing. That could definitely be the next big thing. I like that. Thank you to all our new subscribers on Patreon, whether you're listening or not. If you haven't heard your haiku yet, it's coming up, I assure you. We got a lot of haikus to write. We won't miss out on yours.
The Trump administration said today it would violate rules barring the federal government from indefinitely detaining immigrant families. White House officials said they would unilaterally try to force through changes to Flores, the 1997 legal settlement which bars the U.S. from locking up undocumented kids and their parents for more than 20 days. The administration now wants the authority to imprison undocumented families until their asylum cases are adjudicated. Immigrant advocates immediately attacked the decision. The director of the ACLU Immigrant Rights Project accused the U.S. government of, quote, looking for ways to jail more children for longer. It's yet another example of the Trump administration's hostility toward immigrants, resulting in a policy incompatible with the most basic human values, said Omar Jadwat. Perfect, though, if you're trying to mollify your white nationalist base, though, wouldn't you say? You're not. You would say.
I would say.
As ABC... Excuse me. As ABC News noted, the administration asked a federal judge earlier this summer if Flores could be modified. In July, District Judge Dolly Gee in Los Angeles rejected the request. So this was for sure driven by Stephen Miller to toss red meat to the Pepes. And whoever wrote the anonymous New York Times piece didn't stop it, probably didn't want to or didn't even try to. And they were busy writing the New York Times piece while this was about to be rolled out. So... love to be the self-sucking racist adult in the room.
Finally today, flagging something out of PEER, the interest group Public Employees for Environmental Responsibility. They represent government workers, and are we still good? Well, anyways, we might have lost our live stream here, but we're still working through it.
I don't think we did. I think it froze for a sec, but it's back.
Anyways,
I think it's back.
They represent government workers who steward public lands. The group has a problem with who President Trump has nominated to be the next director of the National Park Service, David Vela. The group claims that Vela, who has worked at NPS for 28 years, has a penchant for secrecy and instances of gaming the system to the detriment of park resources, and he has an apparent allergy to long-term planning required by law. The group noted that Vela engineered the largest rollback of wilderness eligibility in NPS history by opening 40,000 acres of Big Cypress National Park backcountry to swamp buggy traffic. The humans must swamp buggy. Got to get our swamp buggy. Absolutely must swamp buggy.
Drain the swamp buggy. Drain the swamp buggy.
Anyways, Vela also allegedly violated Park Service rules for public notice and comment on management issues, including when at Grand Teton, where he prepared to approve 11 new cell towers, the largest cellular expansion in national park history, while withholding from the public all documents describing its plan. The NPS hasn't had full-time directors since President Trump took office, just a series of acting directors from outside the agency. You know, something tells me Mr. Vela wasn't just picked for his tenure at NPS. I don't know. I figured out what's wrong with our camera issues. My camera's frozen. So is our two-shot, completely frozen. But lucky for our Sam Knight mouth lovers, it works.
Yeah,
it's on you to make this show work for the rest of the other way. So
it's on me to carry it home. Yeah. People are saying the audio is still working fine.
Audio's still working. We've got the Sam Knight shot.
We do have.
So should we just take this to the listener rant line here?
Let's do it.
Hey guys, so back when Trump started insulting Jeff Sessions, I knew that it was just a matter of time before liberals started defending him and saying, Jeff Sessions, Jefferson, Beauregard Sessions, welcome to the hashtag resistance. And now here we are. The New York Times is writing about how Jeff Sessions is America's lawyer and we have to defend him, and it's really, really frustrating because, I mean, these people, they have to know, I mean, I can't believe that they wouldn't know that Jeff Sessions is responsible for the zero-tolerance policy on immigration. The child separations at the border, that was Jeff Sessions. He was the one enforcing that. It was his policy. He put it in place. And it's just like, oh my God. All you have to do to gain these liberals' favor is to get insulted by Trump and to hashtag resist that insult or something. I don't know. It's just, okay. Well, anyway, that's all I have to say. Fuck the New York Times, fuck these liberals, and fuck Jeff Sessions. All right, Have a good one.
Yeah, people who are single-issue voters on the Mueller investigation are just the dumbest fucking people on the planet.
100%.
It's exclusively people in Washington or New York, people who like have these fever fantasies of Paul Manafort getting like exploded by some car bomb for the grave crime of failing to file his FARA forms when working with Yanukovych or whatever.
Yeah. It's also a big crossover between them and the 8% who are still hanging on to Hillary Clinton as much as they can. Let's take another call.
Hi, boys. This is Sky Pruitt, former admin of the EPA, the EPA. You know, my evil little ears were tingling the other day, and here I find out these District Sentinel boys were engaged in some libelous slander against my person. Need to cut that shit out, boys. I don't work there no more. Case closed. I'm out. I'm just going to get loaded as rich now. So, intern Nate, do not take heart the words of your jealous and former managerials, because they are just that. They are jealous of the fact that your labor is now free from their control. So our sweet boy, our sanitary sweet boy, keep up the good work. I'm going to keep you busy over here. Scotty out, losers.
Well, we got the two-shot back set up while Scott Pruitt was calling.
We did.
Thanks for giving us a chance to fix that, Scott. We appreciate it.
Yeah, Scott, it was an Inspector General report about Scott's time that they're still sorting through the mess.
Yeah.
So we weren't taking pot shots.
Yeah,
at Scott Pruitt. They're just literally
they're taking pot shots.
They're scraping the jizz off the jack-off booth.
All right. Well, I'm not sure about the solidarity there between Pruitt and intern Nate. There's something going on. I remember back when Pruitt used to call, he mentioned something similar like that as well. All right, one last call.
Hello, fellas. I'm currently aboard the New York City Transit D train, and I just want to report a supernatural sighting of John McCain's ghost. I'll keep you guys updated if I see any more. He's really, really messing things up. The heat is not doing, it's adding to the paranormal activity. So I'll keep you updated. Do my best to eradicate him. Later.
Jeez. John McCain's ghost haunting the New York City subways.
Cuomo would bring it up. He should bring it up, but he's too much of a softie on Republicans to make this an issue.
You're right. He's a fucking coward. Call the rant line 202-684-6108. That is the show. Sponsors include the Congressional Dish podcast hosted by Jen Briney. Find it at congressionaldish.com. Another sponsor, levelnews.org. Don't forget to stay subscribed to our free content over at SoundCloud, iTunes, and Stitcher, District Sentinel Radio. We release the daily news dump as well as random interviews and other odds and ends. The Newscast is back on Monday. We're here in D.C., so you don't have to be.